Hello and welcome to Stampscaping 101. Very exciting here. I have nature sheet number 25. All pre-existing designs. A little bit of smaller version so I can fit more images onto this one set here. But excited to use these in this type of configuration here. Normally, when I'm using these individually, I would use them with other types of images, but we'll just use them in this video just within this set here. We're just going to stay within the confines of these designs right here. Let's see, what do we have here? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 designs, I believe. Yeah, I don't even remember. First time using them ever. Brand new set here. This is the cling foam version. If you're using the unmounted version, you'll want to use it probably with that purple onion stamp platform, kind of clear stamp, I think it's called. Or you can use it on the unmounted acrylic blocks with the use of tack and peel. This is very sticky, but these ones at the cling, I will use them on the back of my acrylic blocks. You can use them on the side with the cling foam too. It just has this plastic sheet and they stick to that just fine as well. Okay, so I explained kind of the concept of my general approach in starting a scene. Now, all of these stamps, especially the main stamps, I mean, you can use these just individually. You can stamp a waterfall there and put a little quote underneath it or something like that. You know, do some coloring, colored pencil chalks, pastels, Copic markers, etc. Okay, you can stamp nature stamps individually, okay? But one of the joys about individual scenic components like that, if they're designed well, they can be combined to form seamless scenes, okay? And when you start doing something like that, the possibilities become exponentially greater, in fact, infinitely greater, because you can use these in whatever types of configurations you want. I mean, there's 10 stamps in here, and you can just imagine all of the different compositional variations you can make with that sort of number. Okay, I'm not even going to do the math here, but it also depends on the size of your card or paper that you're using, all kinds of things you can do. Okay, so I'm just doing what I call stamp sketches, if you haven't seen this video before, type of video before, and that's just taking the stamps and then just stamping out a few compositions to get the feel of how these stamps can merge together, okay? Now the way I'm going to do it here, again, it's just, I mean, the video would be, I could stamp, I could probably spend, I don't know, 10 hours, working on anything from, small standard, quarter page cards to 11 by 17 compositions, just using this one set. And I would never come up with the same composition twice, all kinds of different things you can do. Okay, now in this one, there's two main waterfalls here. There's the Babbling Brook and the Brook Falls, okay? Now I have the Babbling Brook mounted right now, and let's just use that one as my main stamp, okay? I'm just using die-based inks here. Now these are just stamp sketches, it's to get a feel, but when I'm done with these layouts, I mean, you could finish them off, and I'm sure I'm going to do that with the stamp sketches that I do. Okay, now I could use that Brook Falls that's also in the set, or I can just take this Babbling Brook and stamp it twice. I'm overlapping slightly. You don't need to mask anything off. In fact, masking with Stampscape stamps, for the most part, is kind of a hindrance in terms of the seamless aspect of things. You really want things to blend together well. So you just overlap them like so. Okay, now I'm overlapping about a 1/4 inch, okay? Anything from an 1/8 inch to about a 1/4 inch, sometimes even a 1/2 inch is really good. And you can't really see where one image ends and the other one begins, so it should just blend right into it. That being said, if you wanted to, you can really, you can extend this out. See how here's this impression right here. I can put that right there, and you can see how that would blend right in with that. And you can, I don't know, you can do this whole big, huge cascading waterfall type of scene. Okay, so those are my main images, and as I mentioned in my previous video, like I said, I won't go into so much of the fundamentals, but after I stamp my main imagery, what I do is I go in and I add in my filler stamp. Now this one right here, I just left a little bit of room for some water down here, but why not put a little foreground down here? So I'm just using the top portion of rocks and leaves here. Okay. All right, now, you know, there's this area in the background. I mean, you could stack more waterfalls back here, so it's this, you know, continuing cascading type of structure. I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put, now this would be a perfect opportunity for bringing in designs from individual designs or designs from another set, such as moons or something like this, or trees in the background, you know, whatever you want to do. But I'll show you, let's stay self-contained within the set. This is the boulders with lichen right here, just a bunch of, you know, just a grouping of rocks like this. I'm just going to use the top portion of it like this. Okay, now masking the Stampscape stamps. Again, for the most part, you know, we're talking about very minimal masking, okay? Loose masking, all right? So I have about a 1/4 inch of that top of those waterfalls showing the babbling brook, right? I'm going to take this and I'm just going to take a ripped paper towel, kind of gives me a soft edge mask, and I have a lot of that image showing underneath so that I get that seamless blend from that rock right into this one. It's going into there about a 1/4 inch. Now I don't want to go into this previous impression 3 inches or something like that. I don't want to take this stamp like this and stamp it right over the top of it like that, but you know, 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch, 1/8 inch, anything like that. There's plenty of leeway like that. Now that's with masking, okay? Let me show you without masking, okay? I have my designs configured, so let's say we don't do any masking. Let's just say we just stamp it right in here, okay? No problem, it just blends right in. It's just that masking will kind of, you know, preserve the previous impression a little bit more. So now we have this bank of rocks up top there. That's using the rocks for the background, right? Let's take that same image right here, okay? Now let's go vertical right there, portrait, okay? Some might call it. Let's go with a rock in the foreground like that, okay? I have a little bit of space right here. If you're really particular, you know, you can take another little bit of that rock and continue this one out. That one was, the previous scene was on glossy cardstock. This is on a more of a matte cardstock. There's a little bit of sheen to it. It's called silk. Just a slight, nice, a little bit of a coating to it. I like that, to use that one more than just plain matte most of the time, because you get the benefit of having a slight coating to it. Now let's put this rocks and leaves again right in here. So let's give this a little bit of foliage in here, okay? See that like that? So we have a little bit of foliage behind the rock, like so. Now, here's what I did in one of my previous videos. That's something that you can do. I mean, that's a real easy technique to do, okay? But let's put some of this foliage in front of the rock too, okay? So let's go like that. So you have a little bit in front and a little bit in back. You've sandwiched this, so suddenly that rock looks very different than just the bare rock like that. Okay? Now, let's see, let's just, since we already have the stamp mounted up, like so, let's take the Babbling Brook again, and let's just stamp this a little bit higher, like so. Okay? Alright, so we have this up here. We have a lot of room in the middle to focus on, you know, when we finish off our scene, we could do a lot of water effects in there. See that little bit right there? That's that rock right over here. Right? See how that seamlessly blends in like that? Okay, now one of the things I like to do on my scenes is, a lot of people, when you're doing scenes, we're thinking about water often as an opaque layer, okay? But if you go and look at water, I mean, hopefully, nice and clean water. What you can see is the rocks underneath the water's surface, right? You can see the bottom of the surface. Okay, now this is another design that comes with the set. This is the tiny rock stamp. Okay, now I'm just going to do some light impressions in here. Okay, I like to vary my impression value. Okay, so I blot it off first, and then there's a dark one, lighter, 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 and sometimes I'm just kind of rocking this, and I'm getting a couple rocks off of it instead of the whole thing, and you can just get little impressions like that. Now, when I color this in with blues or greens or something like that, whatever color you want, you'll be able to see these impressions underneath there. And that gives you more of the feeling of really crystal clear water, and that changes the emotional kind of tone of a scene. Blue water is something in itself, but when we go to a place that has really crystal clear water, there's a different kind of emotional quality to that. So that's what we're doing with just something like this. Okay, now this one right here, I don't have too much room down here for water, but I tell you what, let's just take this. Now watch what I do here. See this right here? I have this at an angle so I don't have to stamp out all those rocks like this, right? You just have it at an angle like that. So you're just getting a few of them. Okay, like so. Now I do have the smaller version as well. I like using those two in conjunction with each other often times. This is the tiny rock small. Yeah, for lack of a better name. All right, so anyways, I just varied it a little bit down here. So for a textural kind of variation, seeing kind of pebbles at the bottom of my water like that. Okay. Get that oftentimes what I do with this tiny rock stamp too, if I want to get a little bit of texture on my rocks. Okay. I can just put those in there for a little bit more textural variation and repetition of pattern. Okay, so you have this, image stamped down in water down here, and then you have it up here. Now, when I color all this in, you won't be able to see that very much, but I believe that on a subconscious level, it creates kind of pattern and repetition of form, and that creates kind of this overall kind of visual harmony. It's like going into, like a model home where, some designer has, they have it good because they can just start off from scratch and, sometimes unlimited budgets, and they can do, a whole house in kind of a thematic type of thing. You go into one room and it has some sort of theme going and it carries on to another room, the furniture, everything like that, okay? That's all you're kind of doing right here. It's if you dress in a certain color, right, or a certain pattern or something like that, your shoes might go match whatever, you're thinking about what to wear. Well, from a textural type of consideration, that's the same type of thing that you're doing in here. So scenic stamping is perfect for that because you can use that same image, and it doesn't necessarily look like, oh, you've used that exact same stamp 50 times or something like that. It just looks like pattern or texture in there. But like I said, on a subconscious level, someone might put together that those are the same forms. You're never going to think that, but I don't know. I just think it adds to that overall harmony. Okay, let's keep moving on here. Uh, you know, uh, Rocks in the background, rocks in the foreground. Main image lower, big stack of rocks, main image higher, okay? More water down below. That's what's good about waterfalls too. You want to focus on the sky, stamp it lower. You want it to more focus on the pool in front of you, stamp it higher. And then if you really expand on that type of notion, if you're using like a slim line card or something like that, something with a lot of length or height, okay? Like something like this would be, this waterfall would be fantastic if you did like a slim line and put this one way at the top or something like that. That would be really exciting. Then you can have this water down here, and you can add water types of patterns and things like that, the rocks underneath the water, and that'd be a perfect place for like a quote in the middle. Okay, so running water. If you go to any kind of national park or anything like that, it's always one of the main features. You always want to hike to the waterfalls, right? So when you're stamping them out, it's the same type of thing. It's kind of an emotional, kind of relaxing, very, I don't know, reinvigorating type of visual. And of course, you can go into it too. You can walk around in there. Okay, now one of the things, little tips you can do too. There's this shadow area down here at the base of the waterfalls. If you want to, you can kind of wipe some of that off after you ink it up so that it stamps out a little bit lighter. So that when you are blending in all kinds of other colors, let's say you're doing this pool down here in a light blue and you don't want too much of that darker black down there, then just wipe it off a little bit. Okay, you're not trying to wipe it all off. You just want it to transition from black to gray down here in terms of your impression. Now I've done that with my density of dots too, but you can also help that just with the amount of ink that's transferring onto your paper. Okay, let's go with this one right here. Let's go landscape on this one, horizontal. Okay, so I can fit my other waterfall in here. There's the Babbling Brook. You'll see this variation of that. I just kind of, if I'm going to stamp these things out, oftentimes I don't even clean them off. Okay, I might clean them off. If it's like a clean it off if it's like a StazOn or a pigment ink maybe, where it's, you know, it's oil based and it's going to dry. But if you're using water based inks to stamp out your imagery in, and you're going to use black again, I don't know. You could clean it off if you want to. Especially with new stamps, sometimes I'm kind of like seasoning these stamps as well. You can see, I mean, they stamp out perfectly well, brand new too. Sometimes, you know, the more solid the imagery, though, you kind of have to take it and kind of rub it off a little bit, you know, because this rubber, 100% natural red rubber, does come out of a mold with a resist on it, okay? So use it a couple times, and plus, these are stamp sketches, so again, I think I'm going to use these for a couple, you know, finished whole scenes. Here's the Brook Falls, okay? Alright, so you see this has a little bit of a different spirit to it, different shape, but you see how the Brook Falls just merges right in with the Babbling Brook. I'll do another one with the Brook Falls more as a centerpiece and the Babbling Brook around. Alright, so that's that. You can just leave this blank down here, but I just think it's kind of nice to have some additional foreground in here. This one is on that silk weight paper, so the silk weight is, it's not porous, it's pretty smooth, but it will take colored pencils or, you know, chalks or pastels or something like that. Not as good as a paper that has a lot of tooth to it, of course, but, you know, it's good enough. Oh, here's another little image right here that I have in this set. It fit, so I just put it in here, but you can put a little bit of a kind of grassy texture in here, growing. Okay. Okay, a little bit of water grass, and let's go back to that tiny rocks and set yourself up for some additional clear water here. This one right here with the grass, it gives me the feeling of it being a kind of a little bit shallower right in here for some reason. Maybe because of the grass coming out like that. It could be kind of one of those types of things that's kind of more floating on the surface, but see it down here? So it gives it, you know, I mean, this, if I put like a little tiny sailboat next to that, we would be saying that's a gigantic waterfall, but putting this down here, it makes it more of a little intimate, you know, small, intimate little pool. All right, here's the smaller. Tiny rocks, okay. Becomes kind of almost a shading tool too, creating a kind of texture like that. This is the type of thing where after I color it in, I really like to use white pigment ink down here to make that kind of frothy, churning mist of mist at the base of the waterfalls. A little bit of peekaboo up here. You can have like even like a little moon rising in the background if you want to. You know, kind of with, I could do moonbeams or whatever in here, even at that little tiny bit of space available in there. All right, let's see. Let's take a look at the Brook Falls here. All right. If you have a chance, boy, I don't know what video it was, but I did one scene with an 8.5 by 11. I tried to use as many waterfalls that I had in the Stampscapes line. I don't know if I used all of them, but I used quite a few just to make this kind of, I don't know, whimsical type of take on waterfalls by having so many of them in the piece. Let's go center with this one, okay? I've been kind of going left or right, but I'll show you just how these designs can merge with one another, you know, using their side portions too, okay? So this one's right down the center, okay? I can go with another one right here, or you can go with the Brook Fall, the Babbling Brook. Let's go with the Babbling Brook on the sides and take a look and see what that will look like. Now, I've done a lot of compositions, of course, over the years in using these stamps, but I haven't done them all. You know, I haven't exhausted the different possibilities right here. I don't know if I've used the Babbling Brook to each side of this Brook Falls before. I might have, but I don't remember doing that. Not on a quarter-page card, at least. Okay, remember, just overlapping in there, like that. You don't need to ink up your entire stamp if you're just using a small portion of it, but do ink up more than you think you'll need, okay? You don't want to stamp in here and then, you know, go like that and kind of overlap and, you know, pick the stamp up and you got this big gap where you didn't ink up enough, you know, of the stamp before. All right, so we have that like so. And let's do a little stacking here. Let's do this right here. I've been using my rocks and leaves, you know, for my foreground so far. Let's use it for the background, okay? You can do all kinds of things. You can even use the top of this Babbling Brook right here for this foreground down here. So you can take this one stamp it here again, you know, to match it up, duplicate image, and just use the top portion of this for this rock instead, you know, all kinds of different things you can do. And if you want to, you can sandwich it with, you know, with some more imagery. You know, the possibilities just keep going on and on. And that's what the stamp sketches are really good for. You can kind of really kind of experiment with it. And when you start doing stuff like this too, when you're not really worried about, let's see, what word stamp am I going to put there? And what am I going to do with this and this and this? Which is what I do too, yeah, but sometimes when you get doing these stamp sketches, you get these different compositional types of configurations that you never would have come up with before, just because you kind of get into a mindset of whatever usage of the elements, okay? I don't know if it's a different part of the brain or whatever. Let's go a little higher with this one right here. Get more of these rocks in there. See that? Just little tops right there. And let's go really high with this one this time, okay? And we have our little composition right here. So you have these repetition of form, leaves right here, as well as in the background. It closes in the scene a little bit when the leaves are the same size in the background and foreground. Maybe this right here is 15 feet from us or something like that. Without those leaves up there, who knows, that could be, you know, 30 yards away from us or something like that. 100 yards. You know, as far as a reference point, it could be anything. But when you do something like that, or if you put like a person into a scene, it really creates a strong reference point. Okay, so let's take, oops, sorry, I accidentally hit my keyboard and started a YouTube channel. I'm learning how to do certain software where I can, you know, live stream videos like these, okay? We'll get to that before too long. Okay, so a little of this again. I'll show you what I'd do with this. You know how I'm always doing, well, you might not know that if you've logged on, but I'm always trying to create lighting in my scenes, so oftentimes there's a lighter area down here. Well, you stamp out those rocks drier in the lighter area, and they're darker in the shadows like that. So it kind of gives me a little bit of a head start in terms of my coloring and shading of a scene, okay? Darker in the shadows, and the lighter impressions in the lighter area right here. Now when coloring this in, I would keep my rocks in the lighter area a little bit lighter. I'd use my lighter tones in here, but I'd use my darker colors in the darker areas like this. So what you do is you can just follow the kind of convention. Most people's kind of ideas are to use, like, okay, water is blue, so I'm going to color this blue. Okay, but if you do that, you're darkening that area in there, and churning water is usually more like, think about Niagara Falls, it's like white because it's full of oxygen and it's really super reflective of the light. So when you're doing something like this, if you are using kind of a lighter tones in here, if you do want to make some of that blue, do it in a very pale blue, okay, and keep that water light, okay, and the areas around in the terms of the rocks, make those a little bit darker, but maybe some of those the lighter areas of the rocks, keep those light as well, okay, and so you don't have to kind of just completely invent lighting and coloring on your own. You can just kind of follow the conventions of the designs. Okay, so that is that. That's just, again, it's on quarter-page pieces of card. Okay, I'll show you something that's really fun too. You take something like this, and I'll show you how well these merge together. Let's take this and see how that goes like that. So here we can create this big, huge thing. I'm not going to do that out of something like this, but you can. Okay, see this right here? See those two waterfalls, how they're the same like that? See like that? And look how you can really, if I created like a really large, long scene, you can do something like this. Something that might be kind of interesting to do with something like this is to do like a half page or a full page big stamp sketch like these, okay? And then you have kind of a smaller portion of it, and you can raise it above, your larger 8.5 by 11, and have these kind of coincide with, a section of your larger scene, and to have that kind of raised. Or you can just do like smaller ones. You can do it even a 2 by 2 inch piece in here. Okay, so anyways, you see how that merges? See how that rock is that one right there? See that right there? So it just, it just comes to show you can do a really long scene like that. Here's these two waterfalls, and here's the Brook Falls, okay? Now here's that Brook Falls and Brook Falls right here. So it's right here, again, like that. So you see how long you can do this? I mean, you can do a 12, foot piece, just with that same imagery. It might get a little bit repetitious, yeah, if you get, a scene like, that long or something of that sort, but just to come to show you, just the sheer amount of variation that you can achieve, with these stamps like that. Yeah, here you can go over here like that. There, that is. Okay. So make it as long as you want, make it as tall as you want. These are just scenes right here. I didn't really, I really like. I don't know. I've been using a lot more of the quote stamps and word stamps or something like that, but. You stamp something a little bit lower like this, or you have an open area, that'd be a perfect spot for like a word stamp or something like that. Or you stamp this much higher up here, and like I said, you can do a quote or something like that, or whatever. Happy birthday, wish you were here, whatever, and you can do something like that. You can stamp this waterfall right in the middle, have a little bit of sky, a little bit of water down below, put like a moon up there, and reflecting down here in the water. Putting sky figures as reflections of the water always creates kind of this visual dynamic that's very exciting, and in terms of a scenic type of statement. A lot of people like, photographers like shooting reflections like puddles after a rain or something like that. And that's really fun to do. But the reiterating kind of what's going on in the sky, down in the water, always a fun thing to do. All right, so anyways, just some quick stamp sketches with this one right here. And like I said, there's a lot of possibilities within the set, but if you start introducing something like pine trees in here, these waterfalls like this, you can use tropical things like palm fronds and palm trees in the background. There's no reason why this can't be in Hawaii or Tahiti or something like that. You know, you can do these like these waterfalls like this and do kind of a reddish tone. You know, maybe it's Utah or Arizona or something like that, desert type of terrain. You can color them in with grays, blues, greens, or something like that. You know, to give them a lot of moss. Be in a rainforest or something like that, the jungle, whatever you want it to be, you know. So they're just waterfalls, and they're not kind of set to a specific area. You can make them on, you know, you put them in snow or something like that if you want to as well. Always fun things to do. Okay, so anyways, that again is set number, I don't know, even have these memorized right now. Set number 25. All right. So anyways, stamp sketches, it's a good way to kind of get a feel for the imagery and to how it blends together and to kind of introduce you to some of the possibilities as far as that goes. So I don't know, try things out. Try stacking them and whatnot. Try them on a elongated slim line. Try them, who knows? Some people are getting gutsy, you know, and I like seeing like 8.5 by 11 full sheet type of scenes. But again, one of the good things about stamp sketches is you don't have to worry about little things. You know, you're just kind of getting a feel for them and whatnot. But, you know, that being said, you can, you know, I can color all these in too, and you can utilize them for finished cards. And then you can also get a good idea for something like that. Maybe do them on, have some excitement, do them on, you know, colored foil or holographic foils or, you know, Claybord Art Tiles. Try this composition right here. Stamp them in black or white on metallic, you know, gold or something like that. You suddenly take one of these types of compositions right here and you put them on this right here with some white kind of backgrounds. I'll do this in a future video, but anytime you do anything, stamp anything out on this type of color right here or silver, it can become an instant holiday card. With almost no matter what type of visual theme you're doing, just from the very fact that it's on gold foil. Kind of makes it festive. Alright, so anyways, thanks again for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. Please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. And thanks as always for tuning into the Stampscapes channel.